All right, guys, welcome back. This is a very special episode of Market Mondays.
Yes.
For a variety of different reasons. We are in the United Arab Emirates, and I wore my jersey. You can see it. We're in Dubai right now. We're in Abu Dhabi for a week. I'm sure we'll talk about that experience. And then we are in Dubai currently.
Yes.
Ran into my boy Matty J today. Shout out to Matty J.
Oh, that's dope.
Run the play. Where do you think we found him at, Ian?
I have with Steve in the castle.
Shopping.
Oh, makes sense. Matty J stay fly. Marketing expenses. I get it. Yep.
That's it. And there's a play. He gave us the play for the close play.
Few plays.
Shout out to Matty.
Shout out.
But this is a big week, man. We've been talking about something for a long time, which is the show at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
Legendary situation, something that, it's been a long time planning, long time coming. And this is it. This is the final call, man. It is this Sunday.
Yeah.
It is Black Friday weekend.
Yes.
Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
Everybody enjoy the festivities, but this is it. This is your last opportunity. This is the last grand production that we'll do at scale for the year. This is, closing out, this situation. Last event for Market Mondays of the year. And it's going to be something that I think is going to be something that's going to be talked about for a long period of time. Just like InvestFest, just like InvestFest Europe, just like anything else that's ever happened, just like the Apollo last year. And came down to the wire. But
man,
securing the biggest names in business as far as Don Peoples, billionaire real estate developer, legend in the game.
Absolutely.
Peter Tuckman, Einstein of Wall Street, just the guy's a wizard and a great guy. Entertainment, we got, Mouse Jones, we got Sus One. We got us. We have Floyd Money Mayweather.
Man,
that's different.
He was just here. He just fought in Dubai last week. And when you think about Floyd, you think about, of course, him being a billionaire or 900 million, whatever. But you think about him making the most money out of any athlete in history. Number one on the Forbes list for athletes at all the years for the last 5 years that he was actually still a professional athlete on a professional scale. Changed the game as far as, taking a promoter out and creating his own promotion company and dictating his own fights and getting paid $200 million, $100 million for one fight, working with an all-black team with Al Heyman and Leonard Ellerbe and changing the game. I don't think he gets enough credit from the business standpoint. And then, investing in a skyscraper in New York City. And the list goes on, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at who comes from under his tree, and you got, Tank Davis, from under his camp and different things of that nature. So, to be in the presence of somebody who's arguably one of the greatest athletes of all time, arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest boxer of all time, but also one of the greatest businessmen and mind of our generation, who really transitioned a whole sport. It's not easy to change the trajectory of a sport when it comes to business, and he changed the trajectory of a whole entire sport. Nobody's been able to do that. I think there's no denying that he's the greatest businessman when it comes to boxing ever.
Hands down. Yeah.
Like, you could debate some Ali or Sugar Ray Robinson, different things of that nature, but there is no debate when it comes to business.
They used to, call Oscar De La Hoya the Golden Boy, until Floyd took the blueprint and flipped it on his head. And then he, even like from the back end pay-per-views, people would just, we didn't see business like that. And to see his splits, it was just like that. There's no way. It felt like, like when we used to hear the splits that Master P got in No Limit, it felt like Floyd did that for boxing, man. So when you get 275, like he said, and you fight an exhibition with Conor McGregor and you're getting almost 300 and you're still getting paid on $85 million checks. We've never seen anything
incredible.
Like it. It is going to be tough, especially for the sport of boxing, to see this ever replicated again.
And
it's going to be tough.
And this is going to be one of them situations like America with Frank Lucas wore the chinchilla out. Do understand that.
If you are in trouble, though, don't wear the chinchilla. Get you a little Gap jacket. This is not the time.
There will be some of the biggest in entertainment field that's going to be there just to watch.
In attendance,
There'll be some of the biggest names in Hollywood, the biggest names in music, entrepreneurship, in attendance, real estate, in attendance, just to watch. The networking is going to be insane. You're going to be just randomly in the concession stand like, oh, snap.
That's him.
That's him right there.
I think that's her.
I've been trying to get her for 3 months. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm telling you, this is one of those things, man. It's one thing to be, educated, but you're going to be educated. It's another thing to be motivated, but it's another thing to be able to network. And that's, to me, that's the greatest part of all of the events, is that the networking possibilities is just amazing. Very few opportunities you have to network with 4,500 like-minded people from all over the country, all over the world. And, everybody is there for a reason, there to learn, to better themselves. Just think about how powerful that is. Like, what's the other alternative that you have going on? Like I said, especially if you live in the tri-state area. If you live in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Philadelphia,
no excuse.
There's no excuse. You really
make it out.
You got to question yourself when you can buy for $75 and get access to all of that, and then get access to all of the bonuses that Ian has put together, and then get access. We're gonna drop this. We're gonna do an exclusive Zoom, me and Troy. And we're going to give a 45 to an hour long blueprint on how we've been able to master the media content game. Let's just call it. I'll do an hour Zoom call on all of the tools, everything that I said in London as far as how to master the social media, all of the apps. Troy getting that we used as far as on the technical side, all the equipment, all of the cameras.
You're not giving the switcher, are you?
No. I mean, that's important.
Come on.
Right? Like, people, like, how do you do it? How do you do it? How does it look like that? And so people forget that part of it. Like, there's a technical side too. So it's a lot of game, man. It's a value. That's and incredible. It's stuff that you can apply. It's not like an apply these things. So it's going to be one of those nights, man. A night to remember.
Night. So you get an hour Zoom call with EYL. Talk about how we've been able to scale into one of the top media companies in a very short period of time.
In the world.
In a very short period of time. You get all of the benefits that Ian has. I'm sure he'll talk about that later on, but access hyper, you get
25 stocks to invest in and 50 to stay away from, the blueprint to make $20,000 in a day trading. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. Show up. Mayweather alone should do it. But man, the boy is like LeBron for Vegas. I don't know if the spending in Vegas has went up since he left. But for y'all giving that media blueprint, that's incredible.
So go to the link in the description. Go to the link in our bio. Go to marketmondays.com. Go to earnyourleisure.com. Get the tickets. Like I said, this will be a night to remember and will sell out. This Sunday, 7 o'clock, Madison Square Garden. A night to remember, New York City. See you there.
A time will be had. Shout out to everybody that checked out that Breakfast Club interview. We appreciate the love, the comments. We're super inspiring, man. So thank y'all for checking it out. And thank y'all for telling everybody about it. That was love.
Shout out to the
Had
family.
A good time up there.
All right, let's get into this disclaimer.
All right, folks, you know what it is. We want to let you know about a great choice if you look at a bank or invest. Ally is a leading digital financial service company with passion and service, innovative financial solutions, and are relentlessly focused on doing it right for both customers and our communities. Get with Ally so that you can save, invest, and spend on the things that matter most to you. For everything we need, we're all better off with an Ally. Shout out to our team at United Masters. I saw the post a couple of weeks ago. We'll be in Miami for our bar. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but shout out to them. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be dope. You know how this goes. When you come in on Sunday, some of the research will be shared. So I just want to let y'all know that. But when it's not Market Mondays Live, I want you to do your own research. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. Very important that you do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or independently research and verify any information that you find on our show, and which should rely upon whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. This is a message brought to you by the good brothers at Earn Your Leisure and the good brother Ian Dunlap, the master investor himself. Please continue to do the research. Please, when it's great research, share with the community.
There you have it. Ian, any announcement?
Yes, Stock Club deal will be next Monday. I know you guys been asking for months about that. Number two, thank you to the kids and faculty that I had a chance to talk to at Harvard University on Zoom. I appreciate it. I had a chance to talk about investing in this climate. So that was amazing. Stock Club call tomorrow will be with the legendary Peter Tuckman, who will also be at Market Mondays Live. I got to say special thank you to Fat Man Scoop for advocating, pushing to get this thing with Floyd done.
Shout out to
Thank
Scoop.
you, Ken.
My God.
Yeah, man. For those of you who don't know, it was a lot to get this done. Started working on it maybe 8 weeks ago, and it was tough, to say the least. So sometimes you have to rely on other people, and I appreciate that brother for putting his neck on the line to get this done for us. And thank you to Charlamagne Angela Yee for having us on Breakfast Club, and TT Torres and Ebro for having me on Hot 9. Love y'all. See y'all in New York. Oh, I'm gonna be unavailable this week. You know, I go off the grid when it's time to prepare. So I'm gonna put on a fire performance for y'all. But after the day, I'm off the grid until I hit the stage.
Don't call me. No comp tickets, man. We don't have any.
Done.
It's done. It's over.
Done.
Took 4 time zones in 3 different countries to make it happen.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate that,
man.
So let's get into this. Let's get into this conversation. Disney. Let's start with Disney. So all right. So here's the situation with Disney. They the former CEO Bob Iger left, and they had a new CEO, Bob. How you pronounce his last name?
I believe it's Chapek.
Chapek.
Yep.
Bob Chapek took over the realms, and you know, Disney, it was a mixed result of they had some success, but they also had some issues. Their stock you know, took a hit over the course of that time. They missed projections recently, lost 1.5 billion for the quarter.
Yeah.
And that hurt stock. It was down 10% in after hours. So, you know, the streaming has been good, but the streaming has also been extremely costly. They've had issues, especially with their issues with the governor of Florida.
Yeah.
And that cost him some money.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made that actually part of his campaign situation. The woke mafia is what they call them and all of that. Mm-hmm. And saying that, you know, woke is where Florida is where the woke come to die or something like that.
But that's very important though, right? Because he won by a landslide in Florida, mm-hmm. you know, as governor. And when you think of Disney, where's Disney World located? Obviously in Orlando, Florida. So those two things together wasn't a great recipe to go against it.
Yeah, they missed projections. Mm-hmm. Have a long list. I'm sure we'll talk about it during this segment. But long story short, as a result, they brought the old CEO back. So he's back for round 2. So Bob is replacing Bob. Both of these guys' names are Bob. Mm-hmm. So Bob Iger is coming back to replace Bob Chapek. And Bob Iger is now the CEO of Disney. Bob Iger is regarded as one of the best CEOs in Disney history and one of the best CEO in American history. He was there during the glory days of Disney. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was a very successful operation when he was running it. So they're seeing if he can bring them back to them glory days. They have a lot of issues facing them, but of course they're, you know, still one of the biggest companies in the world, the biggest when it comes to entertainment. Yep. So we'll see. As a result, the stock is up 6.5%. It went from being down 10% to up 6.5% in a day. So that means that Wall Street, you know, is excited about the situation. Hollywood is excited about the situation. So, all right. So what does this mean? What does this mean for investors?
It's a good thing, right? But it's short-lived. And so when we talk about Bob Iger, obviously he served 15 years as a CEO. During that time, more parks were open. We saw streaming come into play. He left right during the pandemic. And obviously a new CEO came into place. So the stock, and I've been saying it's on my long-term list of stocks that I'm investing in. I have over 1,000 shares in it just because I believe in it so much. But the timing of it, You think about when this CEO took over, you're in the middle of the pandemic. Yes, streaming is good, but how much money is being spent, especially on some of the additions that they add? They obviously added ESPN, they added Hulu, the Fox deal. So a lot of money is being spent. So when you do things like that and you're not bringing income, there's something that's called a balance, right? And so when that balance sheet starts swinging in the other direction, they're going to start pointing fingers. And the first thing they're going to do is lay off employees. And so we saw 2 weeks ago, Disney's laying off employees. And so if that's not the answer, then we have to figure out where the spending is going. And some of the projections, where Bob Chapek was trying to take the company, it was going to lead them to a further downhole as far as the spending. And so obviously they called the guy who said, look, who can get us right back on track? And so they called Bob Iger. But the situation is, it's almost like a succession. So he's coming back, but he's going to be leaving in 2 years.
In 2 years.
So he's almost coming to rebalance the situation and train the next person who's going to be his successor. Obviously, when you have a strong CEO in place, investors like that, right? And so that's why we saw an uptick in the company. But it's an interesting time for Disney, right? We're still seeing China is in lockdown. That doesn't help the situation. Our parks are open, but that's just a part of the income. They haven't figured out what to do with ESPN. So in order to try to alleviate some of the loss, they raised the prices. And so if you looked at maybe a year and a half ago, we're talking about Disney Plus was $7.99. Well, go look at your bill now, right? It's $11.99 or it's $16.99. The total packages. So they're trying to bring in more revenue. So I mean, they're trying to figure it out. And the best guy to do it is the guy who was leading them in the right direction. The stock was up to $210 a share. Obviously, it was down. It got down to like 90. I think it was at 98 when it opened today. Yeah. So we're talking over like 40-50% drop. It was in some trouble, but not a bad thing always, right? Because if you're thinking about the company in terms of a long-term aspect, when you're talking about its streaming, as it obviously took over Netflix as the #1 provider for streaming, there's still some good signs there, right? We still see some reopenings that need to happen. I'm still long-term in it. So I'm not giving up on Disney, because I know that I'm gonna get a lot of DMs like, yo, Troy, what's up? I'm not giving up on Disney.
I was happy for you to see that he came back and took over. But you said it, the mismanagement of ESPN, I think we can all agree. It's one of the greatest brands in the history of media. They haven't figured out how to quite monetize as well as they should. Bob is a very good CEO. It's a good lesson for entrepreneurs, regardless of the climate that we are in. Either you're going to deliver superstar results or you're going to get replaced. I think Chapek was a great CEO, but when you have a recession like this, because honestly, if they would have kept sliding, historically, whenever Disney breaks underneath like that $90 mark, they could have went to the 50s, which would have been unacceptable. So good 2-year run for Bob Iger. Hopefully they'll find a good replacement. I do like the assets they have there. Disney Plus is amazing. ESPN is amazing. They have some things I think they can do to help accelerate those brands and monetize a little bit better. But we've seen this before with Starbucks and Howard Schultz, and he will come back. It's happened before with Michael Dell. Sometimes you need that original CEO who helped turn that engine and make things profitable. Long term, do I think this will pan out well? Yes. Probably will take about 14 to 15 months. And if they can stay above like 105, Disney would be good. If not, if they slide underneath 90, I'm looking to buy it at like 64.49. But Bob is definitely like the right CEO for Disney at this time.
Yeah. Hey, even from when we think about Disney in terms of entertainment, we talk about the movies and the blockbusters, the Marvel Universe. Thinking about the time that he was in place as CEO, how many blockbusters were they able to put out? Mm-hmm. Right, you have movie theaters that weren't even open, whereas now you're getting a couple, right? Like Black Panther, obviously we saw what it did in its opening weekend, over 100 million. It's on pace to do $1 billion, right? They still have more coming down the pipeline as people go back outside. So the timing of it really didn't help them. We gotta just remember that.
Was Black Panther good in your opinion?
The first or the second?
Second. The first one was a classic.
I enjoyed the second one. I enjoyed it. It was an emotional ride. I got from start to end. It was an emotional ride.
I didn't see it. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, me and Rashad using the same.
Yeah.
No, I haven't watched
I haven't
it
seen
yet.
So I'm looking forward to seeing it this week before I leave to New York with Xander. So
yeah. It's solid. It's solid. I'll say that it's solid. It's solid. I'll give it the solid rating.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So Abu Dhabi, we'll talk about that, but let's talk about that a little later if we can, because there is some valuable lessons in that. But I want to give some stock info first. So Goldman Sachs cuts oil by $10 to $100 per barrel. Is the run for oil slowing down, or is it over?
I think it's merely slowing down. The rush that we had a few months ago, we were hitting new levels. That is definitely capitulated, and we've descended since then. I think we'll stable out maybe in like another month or so. We may have another opportunity to buy back in. Historically, oil is not a good trade to make or investment to make long term if you're going to hold for a long period of time. For those of you who had been in it, hopefully you've taken profit. But oil is definitely going to slide back down. Oil is usually a great hedge when we go into recession, but they haven't announced that we are officially in recession yet. So don't chase it now. For those of you waiting on USO, you still have time. Really, in this market, it is incredibly important, especially in all commodities, to be patient. Because if you don't have those institutions buying in and hedge funds buying in with big orders, your stop losses are going to get ran over. So I think we're seeing a slowing down of the oil market right now, probably for a few more months, and then we'll go back to the upside and be okay.
Yeah, when we think oil, I think we got to think from a global perspective, right? The number one importer of oil, any country, is China. And so, like, as crazy as it sounds, like China's still in lockdown. Yeah. So if you don't have the number one importer getting the same volume of oil that they normally take in, I mean, obviously that's going to cut the cost.
It's a market maker somewhere, right?
Somebody's going to set the market. So we got to look at from that standpoint. We also have to look at it, obviously, from the conflict that's happening, obviously still between Russia and Ukraine. That'll have an impact on it. But that China piece is really, really large. It's a big component of it. So when we think about global scale, not just, I know people are thinking like, hey, my Kanye bill is going up. Oil must be going up. No, think of it from the large scale. Think from a big picture. Who's importing it? Where is it going to? And how much of it is being raised? How much is it being gouged? These things you have to look at when you're talking about investment, especially in oil.
Before we finish this oil situation, so Disney, would you recommend, is somebody, the inevitable question is this a good time to buy Disney stock? And is Disney a good stock to put in my portfolio? So
yes, Disney is like a B, a strong B. I wouldn't classify it as like a grade A stock, but I will wait until it breaks underneath 90 to see what the plan is. I'm sure he's going to announce whatever his 90-day plan is. I'm sure they'll announce a succession plan within like 45 days, but I want to see what he's going to do to try and turn the company around. In this environment, it's not purely a technicals game. It's really a macro economic environment game that we have to focus on first. So I do like it. Do I like it better than Netflix? They're neck and neck to me. We have to wait to see if they break underneath 90. And I need to see what his plan is. To me, Bob Iger's like Popovich. He doesn't get enough credit. Not the most flashy, but he gets the job done when he has the right team. If he puts a good plan together in the next 40 days, you'll see Troy smiling even more. And Bob historically has done a great job of like turning the ship when it needs to be righted. Yes, I do like Disney long term, but I will wait until it breaks under 90 before I will buy it.
All right. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's that. All right, let's go to this. This is a big one. Bitcoin, you were very vocal about the fact that you thought Bitcoin would go to $20,000, and that happened. So at what price do you think Bitcoin will turn back to the upside? It's been a downward trajectory for Bitcoin for some time now. So when do you think we'll start to see better days with Bitcoin? What price?
It's based on these two contingencies. So of course the FTX thing happened. Everyone on earth has talked about it. If Tether doesn't collapse and if crypto.com doesn't collapse, I think around like 11,000 or 13,000 is where we'll start to bottom out, and then we'll start to reverse. If any one of those show any signs of weakness, any signs of inappropriate action, I'll say that, we'll definitely hit like the $9,700, $9,500 range. Even after the thing with Binance came out, I have some people sending me some reports around some issues that Binance was having around downtime and also being alleged to not having the most reputable practices as well. So I think we just have to clear out all of the noise in the crypto space, and all investors like safety. So Sam is one case, probably the most extreme. We have to make sure Tether that doesn't fall apart, crypto.com or another brokers that doesn't fall apart anytime soon. But I think around like 11,000 is where we'll bottom out. If not, if one of those collapses or has any misappropriation of funds or any ethics issues, it'd be like around 9,700.
Would you?
And I don't want it to fall. I don't want it to fall. I want to be on the record.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if somebody's invested, so we brought up the FTX thing. We brought up Binance. What are your thoughts on Grayscale and impact? News came out today that they're a little hesitant to show proof of reserves. And I know you've been talking about Michael Saylor and how, you know, the number that Bitcoin gets under, it could be a real dark winter for them. What are your thoughts on that?
Anytime that if anyone is afraid to show when asked, well, it depends on who was asked by, but if you are not willing to show, it's usually not a good sign. Either the company is close to being insolvent, or in the case of Sam, you were not actually running the strategy that you were reporting that you were. It's tough, man. I mean, the thing about regulation, and the reason why I even said last week, I wanted to make sure I didn't classify Brian of Coinbase in the same category as Sam. I mean, he's publicly traded, so they're regulated differently. It's really interesting to see. This feels like 2007 all over again. I know some people are comparing it to Iran. I think it's different. But for those of us who went through this in 2016 with Big Connect, we just changed the players. And that 75% drop, 80% drop is becoming very normal. But yeah, if that's true about GBTC, it can send some ripple effects through the marketplace. No pun intended for everybody in XRP. But I think it'd be really interesting to see what could happen. And honestly, if there are a bunch of bad players in the space, we are going to have to shake them out. Once again, also, we got to, at some point, have a conversation about venture capital being the people who put up the money to fund a lot of these campaigns. And I was telling people as well, like, if a token made so much money and the return was so high, why did you need to go get funded for it? Like, some things are just common sense. But we all have been there as investors at some point, and we believe that a project or token or stock was better than what the research showed. Please be careful. It's getting really scary though. And I'm going to say it. Bank of England, they're starting to make their move to have a digital pound. This is what they wanted to happen. I was saying this 8 months ago. Whenever you have a major collapse of any kind, or people that are not acting with morals, you're going to get regulation and a government to try and come in and be the savior. It sucks, but we should have all collectively done a better job at researching these companies and projects. and not just talking about them freely. I mean, of course, we talked about it with Doge and Shiba and all the other coins that were no good, but I never thought that like the industry as a whole, this class of crypto entrepreneurs will be doing things like this. You can throw like the whole class away damn near. It's tough, man. It's tough.
So you think best case scenario, 13,000, worst case scenario, 9,700.
Yep.
All right.
Was that a Smoothie King cup?
No,
No. No.
Definitely not.
Well, we're not endorsing anything that doesn't endorse us.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Thank you. Matter of fact, let me lower. Sorry.
I want to make sure what type of night we're in for. Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. No, I'm gonna keep it cordial. Like, I mean, even I talked to even, a few people. For those of you like who know I rant, it's just my passion talking. Like, I love this, and when the market is down, it's not the time for me to beat my chest or scream and say I was right. Because I know there are a lot of people that are hurting. And honestly, with Bitcoin crashing and this happening in FTX, I know some people that are Black that invested, they'll never come back to the market under any circumstances. It's too gut wrenching. Like, even for me, it's tough some days to even open up the brokerage account. So if this is your first foray into investing and all these scandals have happened, and I always have said, as soon as we got in the market at scale and in mass, everything began to fall apart at the same time, ironically. So
that's a valuable lesson, man. What you just said, like even now, like when you open a brokerage account and some of your long-term investments are down, like what's that feeling like? Are you running away, or are you saying like, you know what, this is a good time, or I just have to be patient?
Yeah.
And overwhelmingly, especially this year, was like I have to be very patient. I have to be more diligent, and I have to trust the research.
Yes.
Right. Like how many
to index, no stress.
Even for us, like I don't want people to like, hey, there's no losses in the portfolio. There's losses in the portfolio. How are you responding to the losses in the portfolio?
Yeah.
Are you saying like, hey, I'm going to check once a month, or like it's in long term, so I'm not even thinking about it? Or I even found like now I'm finding myself like, let me pick some spots. Let me pick certain spots. Let me pick certain sectors. Find new research, find new companies that I hadn't looked at before. So it's an interesting time.
And do your research away from your brokerage account. So like you should have 2 or 3 accounts. Do your research on the one where the majority of the money isn't in. Do your technicals, look at your macro. Because if you see everything bleeding, it's hard for you to think logically. I totally get that. And just remember, you have to hold for a 5-6 year period. Like Amazon went through this in the early 2000s. We've all heard the horror story of Tesla, and Cathie Wood kind of resurrected or gave credibility to Tesla that took off to the upside. You have to hold these things for 5-10 years because you don't want to try and time the market and end up missing a move, and then you're out of a gain of like 24-25%. When things turn, they can turn really fast. So please stand for the long term.
All right. We will monitor the situation and see where Bitcoin goes for all the Bitcoin enthusiasts out there, cryptocurrency enthusiasts out there.
Stay strong.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yes.
Stay strong.
I think you still got to keep a long-term perspective, like Ian says.
Yeah. And if not, this is going to force you.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to force you.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone who thought there was a genius in the market, this market will humble you. It's like in the game where you get beat by 45 and you like, I knew that was good, but man, 45 and a half, whew, you got to adjust. But also these losses will teach you your best lessons, hands down. Write down everything that you're thinking of. Because whenever we have a loss, I feel like God is talking directly to us. Journal every idea that you have, and you'll make it out of this season a better investor.
So staying within the crypto vein, I want to talk about JP Morgan and the Bank of England. But before that, let's take a quick halftime break. Shout out to Allah. And I forgot to mention this, but Art Basel, we are back with the good folks at Ally and United Masters December 3rd, which is 2 Saturdays from now. And we will be in Miami, Florida at Freehold in Wynwood at, I'm not sure the time, I think 6 o'clock, I think. It's on the website. But any event, it's a free event. Last year, we interviewed DJ Khaled. We interviewed Sean. We had Ian there. We had Just Blaze DJing. So that kind of gives you some reference point on what to expect this year.
It was popping too.
That's a vibe.
Yeah,
It's good. Art Basel is a good, nice, fun thing to go to. Good networking. A lot of good people being around. A lot of good events happening. So yeah, if you're in Miami, or if you can make it to Miami, once again, it is free, but you do have to RSVP. That's extremely important. Go to our website, click the Art Basel tab, RSVP. Yeah, it's one night. Last year we did 3 days. We're not doing that this year. We're just going to do one day. We're going to jam pack it and consolidate things, make it more impactful and make it more, just one night only type of vibe. So Saturday, December 3rd, please drip responsibly. That's extremely important. Look your best. This is Miami, ladies and gentlemen. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. Keep that in mind. Some places, it don't matter if it's a recession or not. You still gotta. I was in Miami during the best of times and during the worst of times, and it never changed.
You want
fashion show everywhere you go.
It never changed.
Gas station everywhere.
Yeah. Based on the drip, you couldn't tell the economic climate.
You really couldn't. You really couldn't. So go to our website, go to the Art Basel tab, get your tickets, and we'll see you December 3rd. Let's get it. All right, so now JP Morgan officially registered as a cryptocurrency wallet, trademark, and the Bank of England deputy governor says that the UK may need a digital pound. How could this affect the environment of cryptocurrency? Since we were just talking about crypto,
yeah,
how are these things relevant to the crypto world?
My prediction about a year ago is that they were going to put some players in these crypto projects and tokens and ruin them so they can come in and say, excuse me, I'm the savior. And here we are now. If you go look, I have a very interesting book I want you guys to check out. I haven't given a recommendation in a while. This is called The Economics Book. Go pick it up. Medema is the author's name, Medema. It walks you through economic situations through every year for a few hundred years. Really fascinating. So historically, sometimes the powers that be will let people rebel rouse and cause trouble and mischief so they can then campaign and say, hey, I know harm was done to you. I am now going to be your savior or lead you out of safety. And with this falling out of FTX and all these concerns, there aren't many people right now who are pushing back against regulation. The same people last year who were like, hey, I don't want the banks involved at all, are now screaming for the banks to get involved and clean up the crypto space. Well played by the banks. I've always said that if you are going to tell a bank, we are going to take you over, that is a declaration of war. Sorry to break it to anyone. You are not going to be able to take over Bank of England, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley. That's not the way the world works. There'll be a lot more partnerships that we'll see coming forth, and even some of you guys' favorite cryptos are going to be partnering with banks pretty soon. So be careful. There's no such thing as decentralization. I said that before. I know it's a hot take as well, but the promise and premise of crypto had been sold up a river a long time ago, and the people who helped fund this has cashed out long ago, which allowed the banks to come in and take it over. So, but what are your thoughts as we monitor the situation?
I'm interested to see if it's a situation where it's a copycat thing, right? Well, we start with the UK. Obviously, we'll see what the US does, but who's next? Which country is next, right? Like with this talks that, India is looking to do it as well. They just passed China for the largest population on the planet. So
yes,
it's right. So like from the standpoint where you're talking about it, well played, because now it's like, save me. I know we tried to go into this thing and we tried this new thing and we lost money, especially if you look at the FTX situation where the top investors lost over $3 billion. But would it be $3 billion? It's like, well, we didn't know that was going to happen. So please come save us now so we can figure this thing out. So this is one of those we have to monitor this. I'll be interested to see the domino effect of countries that now maybe form a union and say, like, here is the world regulation rather than just for our country, right? Because Bitcoin and cryptocurrency isn't just unique to a country, right? The point of it is a global currency. And so, yeah, man, let's see if there's a union that comes together with countries saying, like, these are the rules now.
And do you guys believe in coincidence? They announced this like a couple hours apart. For those of you who don't know, behind the scenes of PR and global campaigns, you got to plan these things out. So if India's talking about one, Bank of England is as well, JP Morgan has ties to Ethereum, said that forever. This is a coordinated plan of, I won't say attack, but it is definitely a coordinated plan. And also it's going to be a big talking point for Biden in his attempt at re-election as well. Interesting. I think we need to go look once again at who funded a lot of these projects on the VC and angel side and see if they have liquidated already. The game is a game, man. The game is a game. In every venture, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. You have to just do enough research to understand what will put you in that winner circle. And once again, I want to say this publicly. I'm not mad at Chris Dixon for publicly pushing crypto, but I think sometimes we can get blinded by the possibility of return and not see if a project is viable enough or not. When everyone was talking about tokens in Web3, I know they felt like they can push this industry upon people, but most people who they are pushing Web3 to really is not benefiting in this time. So please be careful. I'm going to be real monotone until we get to New York. Be chill. I'm going to let the action speak. What's up, baby?
You're very low in your demeanor today.
Hey, they told me they want me to quit ranting. They ain't like my rants or my gems. So I'm going to just, I'm going to be monotone. Yeah, baby. I'm be monotone. Peace to everybody. Peace, blessings, and love. And namaste. I try, Crude is coming down to the two. Whenever I get animated, they're like, why is he acting like that? He arrogant now. He changed. I'm like, no, I've been like this. This has been my demeanor the whole time. I love this game. If I've made you money, please put yes in chat. I'm gonna go back to boring me. I'm put the little screens behind me.
You gotta bring the spinning chair back.
Back when we was getting 1,000 views, I'll say, boy. Okay.
So speaking of politics, we haven't gotten a chance to speak about this because it happened last Tuesday. But President Trump has announced that he wants to be president again.
Yes.
So Trump is running for president, officially announced it Tuesday night. Yeah, that's interesting. So, you know, the political landscape is a hot topic these days. We talked about the midterm elections, which Democrats did, you know, surprisingly well. Republicans still have control over the House, but the Democrats have control over the Senate. And of course, there's a Democratic president, and they won a couple of Senate races that they weren't expected to win either. So it's interesting climate that way. Yeah, Donald Trump.
What are your thoughts? Does he have a chance to win? Who should his running mate be, if so?
I think he definitely has a chance to win, over 50%, but at least 50%. I think his toughest hurdle will be to get the Republican nomination. I think the Republican establishment is tired of him, tired of his antics. That's why, you know, Mike Pence made that.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I think, you know, he was pushed to do that. So I think that the Republican establishment, they can't control him, right? And you know, I think that they've kind of become tired of him. So I don't think that they'll support him. But I think that he still has the support of a lot of people on the ground and a lot of Republican voters that don't care about the Republican establishment. Grassroots, middle America, Bible Belt, places that he's done traditionally well in. states like, Michigan and Pennsylvania, I think that he has a strong chance of rallying that support amongst those white, low income to middle class people.
Mhm.
And I don't really see that strong of an opponent. DeSantis, I don't think that he's really presidential in
He
his
should grab
delivery.
him as VP.
No, that's not gonna happen because they don't like each other. But
I know, but if he wants to win,
well, that could happen on a political side, but I just don't see. I think that they kind of grooming him to become, a leader in the Republican Party, and I think being Donald Trump's vice president pretty much in his career. It's like Mike Pence. Like Mike Pence's career is pretty much over.
I think that's why he did. I'm glad you said his name because I'm thinking, obviously, that's why he does the interview because he sees an opportunity for himself to now be placed in that position as the Republican Party for the same reason that you said with DeSantis. Why most people will say, all right, his delivery is not the best. Yes, he's won in a landslide, but can he capture the heart of middle America? Whereas Mike Pence was built for that. And he has the book on what's really happened under Trump's presidency, right? So like if there's any type of debate, then it's time we can start airing some dirty laundry out, which could help him or it could hurt him. But I think obviously, Trump has a chance. When we look at the history books and we look at the amount of votes, this man got the second most votes in the history of America. Like he lost, but he still had the second most votes in the history of America. Yeah. So that tells you that, there's people who obviously still want him. The economic situation of the country doesn't really help our current president, but we'll see. And I think he definitely has a chance.
Hot take, he either needs to grab DeSantis or he needs to grab a black Democrat.
Well, here's what he should do?
South Carolina.
He could do something that nobody would expect. Yeah. No, I'm serious though.
Yo, listen, stop.
That's a hell of a card.
Everybody,
that's a hell of a card, right?
That happens.
That's a hell of a card. That's a winning card. That's a winning. Crazy. That's a winning card right there.
What made you even think of that?
Well,
that's crazy.
I mean, Ye would do it.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I'll be honest with you, bro. If Trump and Ye, bro, that's legendary. That's honestly legendary.
Boondocks will come back.
Yeah. Stranger things have happened.
Can you imagine that bill?
That's a hell of a bill.
You like the rally, like imagine a rally in a state like that's like
that's crazy.
100 to 200,000 people.
Trump and Ye? That's crazy.
And he got his Twitter back too.
And Ye's already confessed his love for Donald Trump on several occasions. Donald Trump has separated himself.
He was full Uncle Ruckus when he did that though.
Well, he's done it several different times. He keeps doubling down on it. He's never ran away from that one. Some things he has run away from, or like he's never changed his position on Donald Trump. That's one of the things that he's been consistent on. He hasn't been consistent on too many things, but that's one of the things that he's been extremely consistent on for the last 8 years is his undenying respect and admiration for Donald Trump.
So for the audience, when we're like, hey, he planned to do this, are we allowing that? Is that permissible? That undying love?
Oh, well, you know how I feel. I love Ye. So, but just because you love somebody doesn't mean that you agree with everything.
You don't have to agree with him.
So, nothing that Ye does is ever going to change my opinion of him. To me, he's still one of the greatest of all time. He's one of the most important people in the world. He's one of the most influential people in the world, and he's one of the most important people our culture has ever seen. And he's had a tremendous impact on culture and music. And he's one of the iconic people in fashion, so many different things. But yeah, there's a lot of things that Ye does that I don't agree with.
But what has Donald Trump done for him that makes him show him that love and not Dame? I'm not going to back off this point.
I think he shows love to Dame. He shows love to Dame. He says Dame name on a lot of different interviews, says that, Dame, I've never seen him speak badly about Dame. I've only seen him speak highly of Dame. He brought him to
but the way he loved Trump, you would think Trump put him on Rockefeller. That's a different.
That's part of that. That's part of Charlamagne's thing, right? Like his level of acceptance from the white audience. It kind of has been something that he can't escape and he can't hide and he can't run from. But like I said, we don't always have to agree with the methods. But like I always said, and I think we agree on that. is that he is our brother. Whether right or wrong, he's still our brother. And, you know, sometimes we have to have conversations publicly, but most of the times we might need to have those conversations privately. I don't know who the person is in the corner that has a conversation. At this point, you know, he had a team prior to, but he's still our brother.
Is Ted Cruz still our brother too?
Ted Cruz?
I'm not sure.
Ted Cruz?
When
Terry
was
Crews.
You talking about Terry Crews?
Oh, I was about to say,
Not Terry Crews, my bad. Terry Crews.
Legendary.
Terry Crews?
Terry Crews, I was never, no disrespect to that brother, but I was.
They're the same person. Kanye just
they're not the same person. They're not the same person at all. Terry Crews was never relevant in our culture.
Terry Crews is like our
and no disrespect.
Don C.
brother.
Somebody get this to Don C. and have Don C. chime in if you feel like it one day. We need to get Rhyme Fest on here.
No, I'm saying you look. They could be the same person as far as who they are. I don't know either one of them personally, but I'm saying they were never the same person to Black people.
Oh
Kanye,
yeah, I agree 1000%. Yeah.
Kanye West is the only person in American history, probably the history in the world, to go on national television, prime time, and say the president of the United States don't care about Black people. They look at him so crazy. Y'all can't erase his history. Don't erase his history. Kanye West was a revolutionary before all of this. He told Taylor Swift, we're not doing this. Like Kanye West, he's actually done things that no other person in American history has ever done.
I agree.
That could have cost him everything. George Bush, you got to figure, George Bush was the president during 9/11. He was the president during the worst economic collapse since the Great Depression. He was the president on 2 wars, Afghanistan and Iraq. And he was the president during Hurricane Katrina. That is a series of extremely unfortunate events across the board. When asked about the worst part of his presidency, after his presidency was over, he said Kanye West saying, I don't care about Black people. He said that was worse than everything that I just named. Like, that was a moment in history. We can't act like that. Terry Crews ain't never do nothing like that. So don't even. Let's not play that game.
I try to do the chest jump, like the chest jump. Like that's all I know him for, really.
No.
Hey, well, when Troy drank water for 14 seconds, I'm like, TV timeout. I violate. I'll see you. I got you. Go ahead. Mikey, go ahead. Put me on the bench real quick. We get a brief.
We digress.
We digress.
We digress.
If that ticket happens,
we're gonna run this back.
I would like to be credited as
I want all the credit to Blake.
I don't know if anybody else, because remember I did kind of predict that march on Washington.
Yeah, no, that you did.
No. Language, I can't call it the march on Washington. The march on the Capitol. The march on Washington is synonymous with a different thing.
All right, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Language.
That whole might clip that out.
That
whole, you know what I'm talking
about. I know exactly what you mean.
That whole,
the audience may not though.
January 6th.
Yeah.
We're talking about January.
When they
run on the Capitol.
That rebellion?
Yes.
That was kind of predicted. So
that's not my kind of rebellion.
Not the Red Panther.
No, not Red Panther. This guy's
boy.
Not the Red Panther rebellion.
Insurrection. That's the word they use. Yeah, that.
The word
clear it up.
It's synonymous with Red Panda.
Just gotta clear it up.
I got you.
Listen, look, we're gonna get clipped up. Be right on Shade Room. They done changed. Watch. You know how this go. I can't even talk excited no more. I gotta be muted. Okay. Boring news back. NPR.
NPR Tiny Desk. This is the Tiny Desk. Yes. All we need is the cello. Okay, let's go over this. What are the top 3 lessons? Okay. What are the top? Let's do this. What are the 2 gems you want to share with traders as we head into December to get an edge? What are two all traders out there?
Number 1, you want to trade whatever stocks are top 10 in the market cap weightings. So you have no issues with liquidity, no issues with slippage, etc. That's the easy one. Number 2, I want you to swing trade more. For those of you that are day trading like crazy, It will benefit you a lot going into December, not knowing if we're going to end up flat or down for the month, to swing trade more, to hold these trades for like a 10, 15-day period and not focus on trying to get the fast gain or fast loss, and build up your confidence going into the next year. The part that sucks about a recession is if you are losing in your long-term account and losing in your trading account, you feel like the lowest of the low. A swing trade will help you get that momentum and mojo back, and your confidence back. So I'll say focus on taking 2 really good ones going into December. Let them ride out for a 10 and 15-day period. Take your profits, exit before the Christmas rally. I don't think there'll be a Christmas rally this year. And then you can build that plan into 2023 and start the year off with some momentum and gains in your account.
Yeah, I think you said something that is super important. And when you're talking about swing trading, please know where you want to exit at. Yes. Like a lot of people are having gains and then they're seeing them turn into losses because they don't know where to exit. So before you start your trade, what are you trying to get out of the trade? Are you trying to make 10%? Are you trying to make 20, 30%? Because you can make that, right, in a day. But if you sit on it and say, you know what, it's gotten to 30%, I think it can get up to 50%, or it can get up to 60%, and then it drops down to 10. And now it's like, wait, what just happened? You just lost your profit. So before you make the trade, have your plan. What is your plan going to be? Why am I saying that? I watched that happen to my account. Like I literally watched that what happened to my account.
What happened to us?
Right. Like, so even like when I moved into a swing trade around a few oil stocks, right, I had my exit, but I was traveling. Now I missed it. Right. So that's why sometimes it's important to have a stop loss. And that's something that, you know, one of those valuable lessons that you should have. That should be part of your plan. So if you're moving around a lot and you can't get to your device, it automatically happens for you. So please know where you're going to exit before you enter.
And don't deviate. Like, I think it's going to go up, And then old girl from FTX going to say, we want to trade with stop losses. What? That alone should have told people anyway. Mark off where you're going to exit before you get into your trade. Me personally, I still put the dry erase marker on the laptop or desktop and mark off where I'm going to get out. Don't deviate from your exits. Please, please, please. If you see enough film on any person, they'll eventually tell on themselves. You just have to go look and research and see. So for anybody who is looking at a CEO, the character, we talked about this in 2020 when we first started the show, the fundamentals that matter, the character of the founder and the team. Man, everything that you need to know usually is on YouTube or Reuters. You'll be able to find out everything you need. So before you invest in a project solely based on speculation, please go see who the founders are. So we don't have any more of these blowups. Theranos, this one, there's going to be about 15 more in the next 3 or 4 years too. That's the sad part. We will monitor the situation. Yes, we
have
will.
to. Yeah,
we must.
We have to.
Absolutely. It's our responsibility.
We have to.
Yes.
Okay. China has its first COVID death since its lockdown. When do you feel the Chinese stock market will turn around, and why is that relevant? I'm assuming that most of our audience has never been to China, including myself. I've been to Hong Kong once, but mainland China, I have not been to mainland China. So, you know, why is Chinese stock market even relevant?
They have one of the most prominent companies in the world in Alibaba. They have a few other companies that I like as well. But those stocks got hammered first before our market fell apart. So in my opinion, when we are coming out of this recession, I expect the Chinese stock market to go up first as a canary in a coal mine to know when we'll start to have takeoff as well. And they're supposed to be the gold standard for locking city downs when it comes to COVID and not having that. So now that this picked back up, and for everyone in the States, please be careful because there's another strain of something going around. And I know everyone's getting sick, but the fear is, what if this contagion picks back up? It won't be as bad as it was in 2020. But when you are in a recession, mild depression, you don't need any more bad news. Like if you just draw a line and put what is the positive news in the stock market, there's almost none. We don't need anything on that right column, including any health concerns. If you're investing in the healthcare space, you'll see some uptick there as a side benefit. But until Alibaba comes out of the hole that it's in, I'm really worried. I think they'll turn around. Maybe everyone I talk to that has a considerable amount of money or wealth, everyone's saying 25, early 2025. And that's scary.
For Chinese stock market?
Yeah.
General.
No, 20 for the Chinese stock market is when we'll start to see things turn around. But hypothetically, if some companies are in their 50s or 80s, that means one or two of them could go bankrupt or have to get. And once again, go back to Evergrande. It's talking about that months prior. Still in trouble. A lot of ghost cities still in China. So yeah, these coalitions, and I know we talked about BRICS before, but globally, they are going to have to do something and team up with other countries to become the superpower they want it to be and have their economy rise again.
You think that the sign or the telltale sign for the turnaround in the Chinese economy, obviously we know is a huge part of the global spending. You think Alibaba is that first indicator if we start seeing it?
Absolutely.
Trading back up to where it's not even its old heights, because that seems like so far fetched.
So far going. That's the one outside of the American market. That's the one I check when I'm done going through the futures and done going through the American stocks. If there's any uptick, because the fund, like the core of the business hasn't changed. Margins, of course, are compressed because of quantitative tightening and all that, but the company is amazing. The management team is amazing. Processes are incredible. You can argue. Right now, if I had to pick between Alibaba and Amazon, if they weren't in China, hands down, I'll take Alibaba. Hands down, no question. But we are in the economic environment that we're in. It's just really scary. And for those of you who are needing advice on what to do, there is no easy answer. You either have to decide you are going to be a consumer or an investor, and you're going to ride this out, but it's not fun while you're in this storm. Hold on for 2 or 3 years. You'll be happy. And you have to realize we may go through a flat half decade. We may have a 5-year run where things are really not moving. But if you get a chance to build a base and buy thousands of shares at an incredible price and get 1,000 shares, 10,000 shares, it'll definitely be life-changing for you and your family.
What are the
NPR?
What are the top 3 lessons that we have personally learned this year from the fall of this market?
Number one.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I think we gotta share them. It was like that game plan. What was it? Have you stuck to it? I think we mentioned something very important: the importance of a stop loss. You know, when we see all these indexes fall over 20%, it's like, all right, well, what was the plan when you got into some of these indexes? What was the plan before you got into some of the stocks that you got into? And have you deviated from that? This is one of those times when it's like, yeah, you thought you were patient when we had a setback or a pullback in September 2020, and you thought you had patience when you had a pullback in October 2021. But what have you done from January to September of 2022? Has it tested your patience? Have you decided to say, you know, this isn't for me anymore because I'm not seeing the same type of games? Have you educated yourself around investing? Have you picked up fundamentals? Have you studied technical? Like, what have you done around that? Those are the type of things that even I'm looking at myself like, all right, I'm really built for this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you look at yourself and you're like, all right, I'm not moving, I'm not budging. Right? I understand the long-term aspect of it. I understand the technicals of it. I understand how the world economy works. And so it's like, has your patience been tested to the point where you backed out, you've left, or haven't you? So patience, diligence, and sticking to that plan, wherever it is. And sometimes like you might have to adjust the plan, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You can adjust it, just don't deviate from the adjustment.
Yeah.
Right. You see things like we said, like, you know, if we were doing ETFs in certain sectors and those sectors are going down, like we saw with technology, is there an opportunity in other sectors? Is there opportunities for us to learn in those sectors? Yeah, there are, right? Because we said there's going to be a bull market somewhere. How do we find it? And so that's a slight adjustment. And if you stick to the same game plan that made you say, the technology is the sector I want to be in, or healthcare is the sector I want to be in, it can now apply for the other sectors that are having bull markets like we saw with oil this year. So those are some of the things I would say.
Yeah, the three biggest lessons for me is trust no one, research but your own. That's why I'm big on like researching, calling my own prices. But if you would have looked at, not to pound on the Sam Bankman situation, but if you would have said Sequoia is in for a certain amount of capital and all these other venture firms were in, you would have thought it would have been a home run. Make sure you do your own research. Number two, no one cares about your money or you getting rich as much as you do. I'm going to stress to everyone, if you want to be great at this, and this is going to be a proxy for you being great in other businesses, you still have to decide if you're going to put in 10 or 12 hours a day into this. Some of you have decided this is for you. Congrats. Some of you have decided it's not. But even if you walk away from this, you're going to have to put 10 to 12 hours into something. You might as well master this so you get good at every other part of business as well. And number three, I am really afraid that honestly, since 1994, we have not had more than 15 great American companies. Most of the gains in the stock market post-Clinton era was because of quantitative easing. And that's really scary. I would love to see more innovation. But when we're looking at that macro picture and I'm, going through Dalio's book, it looks like unless we can turn the ship correctly, America's like on its last leg. I feel like America's like in that year when Carmelo and GP went to the Lakers. I'm like, I'm gonna get one. I'm like, didn't go as smoothly as we thought, right? So I wonder, without the aid of quantitative easing, if we will see another great American company be produced in the next 20 years. I hope so. But even with Elon taking over Twitter, and I like Elon, it looks like a shit show in real time. So yeah, that's my third lesson. It's like you have to know the true macro cycle. And I'm not predicting the death of America or any of that, but I am worried if we'll produce another great company in these next 20 years. Shadi, what about you?
I think, me, I'm always on the side of safety first. That's extremely important. So,
Yeah.
I think that, it's important to not over leverage yourself. It's important not to take too many risks. It's important not to do things because of FOMO. It's important not to do things that you're not fully educated on. It's important to invest in index funds like the S&P 500, like the Russell 2000, like QQQ, different things of that nature for long periods of time. It's important to diversify. It's important not to put all your eggs in one basket. It's also important to dollar cost average and put money in on a consistent basis, because over the course of time, that has been proven to be a better strategy than to try to put lump sums in at any given moment for a variety of different reasons. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's important to, understand that you have to have a long-term perspective and you can't be emotional. And you can't always make money in a situation. Like, there's going to be times where you lose money. Even the best investors, the best entrepreneurs, whatever, like, everything is not always going to be, up and up and up and up and up. That's not how life works. Investments work, like, it's up and downs, peaks and valleys. So, you just have to go into that mentally prepared, but there's always opportunities to buy low and sell high. That's really the most basic thing when it comes to investing, is you want to buy low, sell high. So, there was definitely, and there still is, opportunities to buy good investments that, potentially over the course of time can be beneficial in your portfolio and for your family. So yeah, other than that, like I said, I think that, it's just important to keep in mind that, when you take risky bets, when you gamble, when you try to do things, like I said, out of FOMO, that usually doesn't work out for you. It could potentially work out in a short period of time, but usually long run, everything corrects itself.
If Ethereum breaks 1,021, and if a scandal drops, we are going to have hell on earth in the crypto space.
You said if a scandal drops?
Yep. And Ethereum goes under 1,021, it is going to be ugly. It is going to be ugly. I will save my hot take for Madison Square. Get your tickets.
Call on paperwork is happening, right? People, you can see it, right? We're seeing it now. They want to see the paperwork. Show it to them. When you come up in a space where you don't have to, and everything is speculative, these are the repercussions of it. It's I guess this would be equivalent to the Wild Wild West.
Why everybody thought I was crazy when I said Bitcoin was going to fall and then Ethereum was going to fall, and then JP Morgan had ties to Ethereum. Like, what about my delivery is off? I'm going to fix this I'm going to go back to boring me. Shout out to JP Morgan. Shout out to BlackRock. I appreciate you dearly. I'm looking forward to whatever we're doing in 2023.
Yeah, I saw that visit. Shout out to you.
Shout out to Meta. Mark Zuckerberg. Can you cut my check, please?
Please.
And kindly. Thank you.
Please. It would be very beneficial.
Yes.
Culture. Okay. So let's talk about this. What are the top 3 lessons that we learned while in Abu?
Yes. Yes. I need to know. I got my pen ready.
It's a few. First and foremost, shout out to all the football enthusiasts. Forgot to mention that. The World Cup. Best of luck to the team USA, and everybody that's out there is not far from where we are right now. It's in Qatar, which is 45 minutes from where we are. And that's another reason why I wore this jersey, by the way, too. World Cup football is what the world calls it. Soccer is what America calls it. The biggest sport in the world by a landslide. It's not even actually close. So that's an extremely important event that only happens once every 4 years. So what are some things that we learn? Okay. I mean, the biggest thing is just to always think globally. And I think that that's something, already kind of on that wavelength already. But I think a lot of times in America, we kind of get caught in our own bubble because, everything is, America is a place where you can become isolated from the world without knowing it, because everything is here and everything is at your fingertips, and, you don't really have to pay attention to the world. But that's dangerous because it's like you don't really know what's going on outside of you. And it's only, I think America only makes up like 5% of the world's population. So you're actually, you're isolated inside of a bubble. But the thing about it, America is pretty much different from every other part of the world. But every other part of the world is kind of similar to each other. So even if you look at like temperature, right? Like America is the only country that does Fahrenheit. Every other country does Celsius. If you look at the measuring units, America is really the only country that does miles. They do like kilometers. Every other country does that. When you look at how they measure time, America is really the only country that does a clock, how we use it. Most countries use military time. If you look at
that's a good point.
Pounds, another thing, most countries don't do it how we measure it in pounds. It's different, but they're all in line with each other. Whether it's Africa, Asia, they all are in line with each other. And America is the complete opposite. Even time. So in America today, what's today's date? The 21st. So in America, it's November 21st, 2021. If you really think about it, that doesn't make any sense. Every other part of the world, they do 21, 11, 22, because it's the day, the month, and then the year. So if you think about it, it's like the smaller one, the bigger one, and then the biggest one. That makes more sense. I say that to say, America is completely different from the world, and you learn that when you start to travel the world. Even though America has the greatest influence, and a lot of influence is shipped all over the world, it's still different. So you have a greater appreciation for things when you start to travel, and then you understand why Drake makes an album like that tech house music album that he made, because that's the music which they call world music. That's the music that's, they could be in Africa listening to that. You could be in Southwest France.
Good in Mexico.
I'm saying, so you could be in Mexico, wherever. So you start to understand, like, oh, this is a global audience. Now you understand why Bad Bunny is, going crazy. 80,000 people at his shows. Like, this is a global audience, right? So I say that to say the opportunities are immense all over the world, and us just being out here in the United Arab Emirates and meeting people from New York City, that Black people from New York City that moved out here and is getting to it. And a lot of times, you have misconceptions about things, and you're misinformed. And it's like, oh, these people don't like you. These people don't, they don't like you in America. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Facts.
like, that's just a fact. But I with you, everybody that I spoke to, they said they love it. They love it out here. They said it's safe. There's no crime.
Yeah, no crime.
This opportunity, everybody has greeted them with open, as long as you respect their culture. But that's like anywhere, like you gotta respect the culture where you're at. I can't go in somebody's house and disrespect their house. I gotta follow the rules in their house, or don't go to their house. But there's so much opportunity out here. There's a tremendous amount of, it's a melting pot. I think like 90% of the people that live here are not from here. They're from different parts of the world. And they're just getting started. It's crazy because you look at Dubai, you look at these places, and you like, but in the grand scheme of things, these countries are just like, they just got money 50 years ago. They just started building in what we see now 20 years ago. The infrastructure is still in its infancy stages. It's like New York City was in 1920. Like, imagine if you had an opportunity to go to New York City in 1920 compared to what New York City is now. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, and we see this in a lot of different parts of the world, but especially here. And, talking to, I think he was the minister of events. And he was telling us that, in the next century, all of the growth opportunity is coming from Asia and it's coming from Africa. And that's just what it is. And it's like, talking about Asia, you're talking about everything from China to India, the Middle East, everything in between that, right? And then, of course, about Africa, that's the whole entire continent. And he was telling me, like, that's where the focus is. Like, that's what he told me out of his mouth. That's where the focus is. The focus is in Asia and the focus is in Africa. And it's like, Europe is already where it's at. America's already where it's at. But who has the trajectory to go furthest? And, being out here is extremely inspiring. See what they've been able to accomplish and what they've been able to build in a couple of decades. Like, this place was a desert. And, they put water, and they made water, they made an island. You wouldn't even know that there wasn't water here, and that there's not supposed to be beaches, and it's not supposed to have all of this infrastructure. Like, this is just an amazing feat. The architecture is amazing. The people are extremely welcoming. And once again, this goes back to relationships, right? So, big shout out to Steve Harvey. This is a relationship that we've cultivated from interviewing him at a podcast and him taking a liking to us and us. And one thing that he told us is like, y'all not like, I forgot how he framed it, but y'all know how to be. He said, y'all know how to be.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, you're not all in the mix, trying to network with the wrong person that aren't supposed to network, trying to jump over the plug, trying to run off with the plug, trying to, what I'm saying, mix and mingle. And that's something that's very important. It's like, you try to put people in rooms sometimes and give them opportunities, and then they go and they try to do their own thing.
The most,
flip it and bounce it, and it's like, bro, like, you're doing way too much right now. Sometimes you gotta learn 48 laws of power. Rule number 1 is never outshine the master. And it's not a master, it's like a slave master. It means like respect authority and have a certain level of understanding and governance. There always has to be governance, and there has to be humility. And in one situation, you might be a master. In another situation, you might not be a master. So in a lot of circles, we are maybe the top dog, but in a lot of circles, we're not the top dog. And it's important to understand that. We're not going over there thinking that we just earn your leisure and we're going to run the play and we're going to do this, that, and the third. No, we understand the only reason why we're over here is because we got invited from Steve Harvey. So we're a reflection of him. We're his guest. So that's important to understand, because anything that we do, good or bad, is going to be a reflection on him. And B, we're just getting our feet wet in the media space, and we're just growing our company. So, it's important to understand that, right? And know your role, pretty much. Mm-hmm. That's just what it is. You got to know your role in life, and you got to be humble enough to understand sometimes you're a star player, sometimes you're coming off the bench.
Yeah.
That's how life goes. Like, you know what I'm saying? But you contribute. No matter what you do, you contribute.
Or you can be the practice squad waiting to be called up.
Or you could be the practice squad. But you still got to be ready to get
ready. You got to be Jordan Poole when you get called, though.
Got to be ready. So yeah, it's a lot of different things, man. But that's some of the things. And like I said, I just really wanted to thank Steve Harvey, Tabiti, the whole Melt team. The hospitality, and the lights have been cut off.
Oh no, we good.
The hospitality that we've received out here has been tremendous. The people are extremely welcoming, friendly. It's just, everything that I've heard about this place has been extremely accurate, man. And I really wanted to just put that out there, because
keep going, Jack.
That's important. That's important for people to understand. And like I said, don't let stereotypes, don't let misinformation view your view on things before you even get a chance to even see it for yourself. Like you making a judgment about something that you yourself have never even seen. That's crazy. That's like saying, like, oh, this chicken is terrible, and it tastes like the worst thing in the world. You yourself have never even eaten it. You just going off of what somebody else told you, and they probably never ate it. Like it's like three different people with misinformation going off of more misinformation, going off of more misinformation. So
yeah. Well, I'll just add really quickly to that, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but and Tyler Perry said this to us too: always be prepared for the room you want to be in, right? Like not the room you're actually in, but prepare yourself for the room you want to be in. And so I'll just like microcosm in the midst of 24 hours, we might have been in the room with probably 4 to 6 billionaires with the people. And it's important to know that, like, there is governance, right? And so we were the guys that were coming in, waiting to be introduced to people. And so we played that role. We had that presence of waiting to be introduced, right? And that's important, not jumping the gun and not saying, oh, that's that person, let me go speak. But when you have that moment, when it is time to speak, do you know the vision for your business? Do you know the vision for your company? Do you know the analytics? Do you know your demographics? Because inside of those conversations, right, you could be talking to the person that could potentially change the trajectory of your life and your business. And I feel like we had at least 3 to 4 of those conversations where we told people about the vision who weren't aware of who we were. And when they found out what we were doing and why we were here, it was, listen, we need to sit down. We need to have meetings because we want to be part of what you're doing. How can we help? How can we join forces? How can we partner to expand your vision? And that was just incredible, right? Because it was one of those things. It was like, yo, we have been working for this moment right here, right now, right? So we had never, I don't think you watched the F1 series. Wasn't really a big fan of F1. I knew who Lewis Hamilton was, but when you see the circle of people that are attending these events that we're not paying any attention to, it will change your outlook on life. Yeah. It will change your outlook on life, and you realize how much we haven't been privy to. And so it's important for us to come here to see it. So it was like, all right, the same thing we said when we were doing financial literacy, and it was like, all right, our community doesn't know about this. Let's enlighten them. Let's give them the information. We said the golf course was a place. Shout out to the golf course. That is a place.
Shout out to our victory too.
Well, you know.
You're gonna play.
I mean, we only come for one reason. When you think about events like the Grand Prix, and you see, like I said, the rooms, like we went from a billionaire suite to a billionaire suite. And just seeing the people inside there and understanding, like, okay, there's a bigger play. There's another level that even we have to get to, right? Like a lot of people looking at us like, oh, like you said, top dog, but nah, there's levels, right? And we're getting to these levels. We're being in those rooms. I always say that we're in those rooms, and now we're having those conversations. And so now it's time for us again to learn the information, apply the information, execute the information, and then give it back to the community again. So I feel refreshed, man. Like we're learning so much as we're going on this journey. So it's a beautiful thing.
And another thing is the show is a great networking tool because a lot of the people that were there, we already knew from interviewing them or having. So in the suite for the Formula One race, you run into Gary V. Of course, we interviewed him.
Yeah.
Run into Shaquille O'Neal.
Not heard of him.
We interviewed him.
Yeah.
We run into on a bus. On the most random part of the most random thing in the world is Al Harrington. Shout out to
Al. Yeah.
He, so Al Harrington. I'm on the rooftop with Al Harrington at the Formula One race, and then he's like, "Oh, that's Mike. You know Mike?" I'm like, I interviewed Mike. So Mike Novogratz.
Yeah.
And we randomly end up in a bus with Mike Novogratz going to Cipriani's. So we in Cipriani's at a table with Mike Novogratz, Al Harrington. We run into Robert Smith. We had made a relationship with Robert Smith on several different occasions. That's through Steve Harvey. That relationship got solidified. Talked to him. So many different things happen. You got to put yourself in the right room, but then it's great to have, relationships with people and
and have done good business too.
Exactly.
It's awkward if you did something bad or something shady. Oh my God,
Mike Novogratz told me something crazy. I'm gonna tell you off camera, but Mike's a funny guy. Yeah, so it's one of these things, man. But yeah, global, man. I'm thinking more global, bro. I'm not even thinking about America. I ran to Matty J. Shout out to Matty J. He's been out here. I said, Matty, when's the last time? He said he was with us in London. Came to London. He's been out the country ever since.
3 months.
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah, he's been out the country ever since. Even before London, he was actually out of the country. So he's been out of the country for 3 months, and he's went
all the real money is elsewhere.
And Maddie got a lot of plays.
Maddie got
a lot of plays.
Maddie, thank you for the hotel play. He called me.
He got the hotel play.
Yeah.
Goes about the Spain, like being in Spain, and there's a play being in Spain. There's a play being in Portugal. Maddie got a lot of play. He's running them and he's documenting the process.
Oh, there's a lot of plays out here too, as far as business, as far as taxes. There's the tax play. There's a few different plays out here. As an expat, it's plays. This global thing.
We got to stay 7 months?
I'm not 100% sure. I can find out, but it's I don't even think you got to stay that long, to be honest with you. But this global thing is
different. Yeah. Get y'all tickets to go ahead. It's over with. I didn't even dare you.
America, is always going to be home. That's where we come from. And like I said, it still has the strongest influence, but there's a lot of holes in the system. And there's a lot of things that you see that it's not right. It's not right. It's really not. And it's like when you start to travel, you don't see any litter. You don't see any garbage on the street. You don't hear any police sirens. I haven't heard a police siren once.
Mm-hmm.
I heard an ambulance siren one time. I haven't seen anybody like on the street. I haven't seen. It's just so much stuff that we become normalized to America and in cities of America, and then you go places like here, and it's like this place. The last thing I'm gonna say about this situation, there's so many great lessons in this situation. What they did in the United Arab Emirates. So this is the thing. 50 years ago, they just hit oil. 50 years ago, they just became wealthy. It wasn't wealthy for hundreds of years. They were pretty much like just in the desert. Like they weren't wealthy people at all. They hit oil in 1970, 1960, something like that. And when they hit oil, there's 7 emirates from my level of understanding. And they all did like independence of each other, right? So it's like Dubai was one, Abu Dhabi was one. There's 7 of them. That's why it's United Arab Emirates. The Sheikh in Abu Dhabi, which I was educated on, is actually like the most powerful in the region. He called a meeting and said that, it would be the most beneficial thing for everybody to come under one umbrella, to come under one flag. And, that way we can actually become powerful and we resources we could share with each other, because Dubai doesn't even have oil. We could share with each other, and it was a whole play of unity, the unity play, right? And everybody agreed, except for Qatar. Qatar remained independent, and that's why they're an independent country to this day. They're a very wealthy country within itself. But all of the other 6 Emirates came under one flag of United Arab Emirates. And now they're one of the wealthiest countries in the world. They have some of the best architecture ever. So, hey, that's a lesson in working together.
Mm-hmm.
They could have easily said, like, no, we're going to do our own thing and da-da-da, and it wouldn't have been anywhere as advanced as it is now. And then also what they did was they sent people all over the world to scour the world for what's the best elements. If you come here, look, I told Maggie, it looks like an all-star team as far as what they've been able to take from different places. So they have a Louvre in Abu Dhabi. There's only other Louvre is in Paris, right? So they sent somebody to Paris and they recruited the situation. They got the architect from Paris and they built the Louvre. If you come here, it looks like they have a place that actually looks just like the Bellagio in Vegas. I'm sure it was inspired by that. They got the fountains, and then it's like the Venetian where they got the water underflow. That whole strip just looks just like Vegas, right? So I'm sure they got inspired from there. We went to an island in Abu Dhabi, which is crazy within itself because that they just made that whole situation. And the island is like beautiful beachfront. It's like villas, and they have like these small windy roads that it makes you feel like you're in Mexico or you're in like St. Thomas or something like that.
I was gonna say that almost thinking about it now, it almost gives that Martha's Vineyard type vibe. It was like the small island. If like the roads, you could ride your bikes down the road. They give that type of vibe.
Yeah, it's all of those like Caribbean islands. So I'm saying that to say, I'm pretty sure they sent somebody to the Caribbean and they studied what they have in the Caribbean, what worked best, and they duplicated and they ran that play, right? So there's so many different things. Like it's like you take the best parts of different things and you combine it. And now what they've created is something that I've never seen before, where it's literally like an all-star team. Like they've taken the best parts of the world and combined it in a very small place. And now you got exposure to everything. You feel like you're home. Because now you feel like you're in Vegas. You feel like you're in New York City. You feel like you're in, St. Thomas. Within a half an hour drive, you could be anywhere in the world. So
what part of New York though? Tribeca or?
No. So speaking of New York, and speaking of
shout out to the Bronx.
Some of the finest things in New York, shout out to our brother Don Poole, because they brought Brooklyn Chop House from New York City and they had it. And so we were able to go to the pop-up opening of it at the W. He has it inside of the W, which has a Grand Prix running through it.
That's
right.
Fire.
It's ridiculous. But the pop-up is going to lead to the grand opening of the Brooklyn Chop House in Abu Dhabi. So now the locations are Manhattan, right? 2 locations in Manhattan, and now you got one in Abu Dhabi. And so they're finding the best things. So think about that from a standpoint of Don Poole, who is known in the entertainment world. Obviously, he's married Mary J. Blige, but now he's on a global scale. For something inside of an industry that 15, 20 years ago, right, he wasn't a part of. But when they looked and said, what are some of the best things that are happening? Brooklyn Chop House is one of them. So credit to him and credit to them for coming to see the vision.
And they're about to take another iconic Black restaurant out there. I don't know if I'll be able to say that. So I won't. I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Yes.
So
yes.
I won't say the name. But the thing about it is that this so crazy because it's like they really, really are embracing, especially Black American culture. They're embracing it, not just from a cultural exploitation standpoint, from a business standpoint. Like they're embracing business opportunities. That's why Steve is out here. Like he got a whole company that they started, Melt, which is their whole job is to bring and, build out the tourism and build out the cultural events and the entertainment and all that stuff. Like they're really embracing the Black American entrepreneurship. Out here, there's Jamaican restaurants, there's Afrobeat Club, there, like you said, Don Poole. Shout out to Tape London. Tape London had a
I saw that was out there. Yeah.
Tape London, our guys from London, they out here. Telling you, man.
We didn't talk about Walton. We gotta say that for another time.
Yeah, that's another.
We'll tell you about who Walt is in a little bit.
It's so much, man. It's so much. So I encourage everybody just to travel. But when you travel with a purpose. Don't just be a tourist, because you're not gonna get the full experience. Like, try to network with people. Try to go places where you can be introduced to somebody. I'm not going to be probably the highest levels of government right away, but you might be able to introduce to somebody.
Soon come, yeah.
And then that somebody might introduce you to somebody else, and that person might introduce you to somebody else. So it's like, whether it's Ghana, whether it's UAE, whether it's Jamaica, whether it's wherever you go, try to have a strategic plan in place to go there for a purpose and a reason, see what the opportunities are, because the world is big. And it's like, if you can, we could keep complaining about our circumstances in America, or we could look elsewhere. And there's nobody stopping you from expanding and going different parts of the world. It's like, if you oppressed in one part of the world, you have permission to go to another part of the world. That's how life goes. So you can either try to keep fighting against this oppression that you have been fighting against for hundreds of years, and some progress will be made, or you can go somewhere where you're actually embraced and there's opportunity. That's my two cents.
I know as soon as I'm done with Market Mondays, I'm going right to Mexico. I had a chance to set my place up yet. My Lord. Cannot wait. Speaking of which, get your tickets. Market Mondays live. Top 25 stocks to invest in and 50 to stay away from. How to make $20,000 in a day. And I'm going to be giving away money as I do every show. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. Peter Tuckman will be there. DJ Sus1, Jadakiss, Troy Rashad, Don Peebles, Floyd Mayweather, Fat Man Scoop. Once again, thank you for making this happen and putting all your energy and effort, because it was getting down to the deadline. My Lord. Talk about stress. Listen, we can tell the story now. Look, for all my entrepreneurs, sometimes you just got to go and like, God, go and work it out. I was like, we're going to announce on Breakfast Club, Floyd going to be there. What we going to do? So got to just go for it. I'm like, well, what can we do? And then, figure it out later. So thank God for good people believing in the vision. But Floyd's one of the best business people ever. Like, his ability to always be able to generate money on demand and what he's worth to just Vegas alone. He's like LeBron, like when LeBron was in Cleveland. Like, I don't think it can be really measured how much money he brings in to a city. So there's a lot to learn from. Don't just look at him as an athlete. Look at him as one of the best business people that happen to be an athlete. Get your tickets. Got some tickets left at $75 next year. When you're doing those $75 tickets.
And who knows the next time in New York. So get your tickets now, this Sunday, like everything Ian just said, and we'll be doing an hour Zoom call for everybody that has a ticket, but you have to be there. You can't just buy a ticket and be in Wisconsin. You actually have to physically be there. So you buy a ticket, you come, you get access to all the things that Ian is providing, access to an hour-long call with me and Troy talking about how we built our media company, Earn Your Leisure, a very short period of time, a lot of gems.
Y'all seen Troy in real time fix the Loom Cube when the lights went out. What else y'all want, man? Come on, man. It
has to work, or it has to work. And it's going to work.
Yes, you got to figure out a way. Got to figure out a way no matter what.
Tomorrow on Earn Your Leisure, our guy, Benny Pugh, one of the most enjoyable people that we've come across in this game, former president of Rock Nation, music veteran, entrepreneur, just wrote a book, dope story. A lot of, we had a pretty, debate about music and how music influences young people and should there be more responsibility, kind of similar to the conversation that we had on Breakfast Club. So that's the dope one. That's out tomorrow. And then for Revolt, it's an off week for our show. So they're putting out our conversation from the Revolt Summit with Master P. So that's going to come out this week on Revolt. Shout out to Master P.
It was packed and hot over there. I tried to make it over there.
Sorry, Dean. Boy.
No way.
The show will go on, but it was tough. It was tough.
But anytime you get a chance to talk to Master P, it's always an honor and a blessing. So shout out to P. And yeah, United Masters, Ally, shout out to them. December 3rd, Art Basel, get your tickets, go to our website. Art Basel is free tickets, but extremely, extremely limited, like 300 people. So first come, first serve basis for that. And yeah.
And speaking of Ally, we want to let you know about a great choice if you're looking to bank or invest. Ally is a leading digital financial service company with passionate customer service, innovative financial solutions, and are relentlessly focused on doing it right for both customers and our communities. Get with Ally so you can save, invest, and spend on the things that matter most to you. For everything we need, we're all better off with an Ally. Please make sure you're RSVP for our event in Miami. It's going to be fire. It's going to be one of those.
Oh, shout out to Dan Fleishman. We're doing open enrollment on Wednesday for Earn Your Leisure University. We haven't done this in a while, and we're having Dan Fleishman on.
Dan the Beast.
Yeah, and if you don't know about Dan, he's one of the top in the game when it comes to this online space and business and entrepreneurship. Our community might not be as familiar with him, but just Google him.
He's one of those ones.
Who's your friend,
Absolutely.
bro?
Yeah, just Google him.
Who's your friend?
That will be Wednesday, and we might have a couple more surprises on that open enrollment call as well. So 8:00 on Wednesday. Check it out on our YouTube channel. Yes, once again, enjoy the holiday weekend. Yes. Thanksgiving is a time for reflection and family gathering.
What are you guys most thankful for?
Life.
Most thankful for my health, and most thankful for my son, and my family. But I was gonna say, even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, because I know I don't want to get into that debate. Of course, I don't think the origins of the holiday is something that should be celebrated, because it's nothing to be thankful about when millions of people that were native to this country were slaughtered, and a narrative changed to make it seem like the Pilgrims and the Indians sat down for dinner, when in reality it was raped and murdered and slaughtered. That's like the real picture that we have to paint, even to children. It's important to let them know what really happened. They never sat down with costumes on their heads and exchanged turkeys. That's not what happened. So it's important to understand the real history behind this. But like I said, it's also important to spend time with family, and it's important to be thankful for things. So whether you celebrate the holiday or whether you don't, it is a time when the majority of America is going to be celebrating it. So I think it is, a good time to, at the very least, do some reflection, at the very least, and to be around your family, because you're not going to be working, you're not going to be at school. So, take this opportunity to be around your family, to, really be thankful, and come to Market Mondays live, most importantly.
Absolutely. And shout out to my people in New York. Bring me 14 bottles of Coquito, please.
Oh,
I will pay for them. But bring them. I need a Methuselah.
Yeah.
What are you most thankful for?
Family, friends, health. My baby Xander, they're screaming right now playing Fortnite. And for God allowing my dreams to come true.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think you just named them all. Life, family, friends, health, and the ability to dream. Right? Some people don't have that ability. And to watch some of these dreams come to fruition has been incredible. 2022 has been incredible thus far. 2023, I'm sure, more incredible. And speaking of,
we got to take a moment to reflect, though.
That's important. I'd be super remiss if I did not congratulate my brother and our partner,
yes,
and fiance Jessica, on welcoming their son into the world. It couldn't have happened. Being a father to a more genuine and just caring gentleman, and our brother Mike. Man, he's been an uncle to our children. I speak for Rashad and myself. Our children and everybody. If Mike is in your life and you have a child, he's the most generous person in the world.
Oh, big facts.
I'm just so happy that he got to have that moment and be there and witness it, and we're going to welcome him into the Father Club. So congrats to him and Jessica. And man, God bless your union, and God bless Legend. Welcome to the world. Welcome to the world, young man.
If you need to get some sleep, Mike, I'll babysit a day or two. I got you. Hold me to it. I got you. And I want to say happy early birthday to Christy. Birthday's Wednesday. I appreciate you.
Happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday.
I appreciate the help.
Happy birthday. We're going up. That means we're going up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, stupid.
Happy birthday for sure. And congratulations to Mike, man. Definitely, that's a big moment to have your first child, especially your firstborn son.
Yeah. And Uncle Bam.
Oh boy.
We looking for you, Uncle Bam. We coming to see you, Uncle Bam.
That's a
suspension notice. Shout out to Bam.
I didn't vote for you to be suspended. I support your Petey Pablo movement. I don't know what else happened, but the Petey Pablo, I'm with.
We'll talk about that all.
Yeah, all fair.
Sheesh. All right, guys. Thank you for rocking with us. We will see you in Sunday.
Yeah.
We will see you on Sunday. Sunday, final call. Get your tickets. Market Mondays. Live. Madison Square Garden. Don't miss it.
Oh.
Next see us is going to be glorious recap of the situation, and you would have again.
Red Panda family, all black attire. Bring your masks. Prepare to rebel. It's gonna be a movie.
Motion picture status.
Yes.
All right, guys. We'll see you on Sunday. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.